We are live coming from the Dutch Innovation Factory, which is located on the Dutch Innovation Park, of course. This is an area in development, but we are getting there. There are lots of companies already here focusing on tech, healthcare, technology, innovation, startups, scale-outs, and also companies, older and international companies. So welcome. I think we can start our panel discussion, and I want to introduce my guests. So let's start with Rick. Welcome. Could you give a short introduction of yourself and what brings you to the park?
Thank you, Bart, for inviting me to this roundtable session. My name is Rick van der Kleij. I have a background in psychology, but an interest in cybersecurity. I work for the Hague University of Applied Sciences at the Center of Expertise Cybersecurity. And the mission of the center is to make organizations more cyber resilient. And we do that by conducting applied research together with students, organizations, and trying to get these knowledge, trying to get it back to organizations. So that's a short introduction, I guess.
Yeah. So I started the introduction with welcome to the Dutch Innovation Factory, which is located at the Dutch Innovation Park in Zoetermeer, in Sweet Lake City. And one of our table guests is Rick. Thank you for your introduction. Please, Ankie, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Ankie Timmermans. I'm site manager of Reconext, formerly known as Teleplan Communications. We have been on the Dutch Innovation Park since 2004, so we were here before the park was there. We are a global company with different sites all over the world, in the US, APAC, and in EMEA. And together with our customers, we strive to reuse 100% of all electronic communication equipment. And then you have to think about set-top boxes, modems, laptops, mobiles. We do that via reparation of those devices. We do refurbishment of these devices, resell of the devices, but also harvesting parts and reuse the parts of the devices. And we do that with own developed protocols in wiping and testing.
Yeah. So this is a booming business, I guess, because
Yes.
more people have more devices. And the day that we met, I also sent back my smartwatch back to your company.
Yes, we started that program last month. It's true, and also all the big customers we work for, the international customers, they all have in their vision and mission to reuse 100%,
Yeah.
to reuse as much as possible. So together with our customers, we work on this goal.
Yeah, we are proud to have you here, not only today, but at the Innovation Park. So welcome. Dennie, you are one of the inhabitants of the Dutch Innovation Factory.
Yeah, an inhabitant of the factory and proud citizen of the park. And I think I represent the smallest organization of the three on this table because we are 6 people. Tellick is 6 people. And we focus on software development, innovative software development. And historically, we've been doing software development services. But as of this year, we are focusing also on products. And the first product we are going to launch this year is a content management system for VR in order to bring down the costs that are needed to create a VR experience. And in our experience, talking to our customers, we see that innovation most of the time takes a lot of investment. And we think that that innovation shouldn't be like that. It should be available. So if it comes to VR, but also AR, machine learning, decentralizing the internet, it sounds big, but what can we do in order to bring it to a point that it's usable and that there's business value in it?
Yeah.
So that is what we are focusing on.
Yeah, and you're also working with the students who are part of this community, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Within the Dutch Innovation Factory is also the Hague University of Applied Sciences, and I work together with the Hague, with the Haagse Hogeschool, as we call it here, working together with students in order to create innovation. We take interns, but I also help other interns as behind us. This is the innovation
lab.
The innovation lab.
Yep.
But behind us is the Dutch software lab, and I help students there to do their internship.
Nice. So this is really a focus of the park, combining businesses with students and also people in the greater area of Sweet Lake. And I think the uniqueness of this location is that we are in between Rotterdam, The Hague, but also Leiden, Gouda, and even Utrecht is near. I think this is a unique opportunity. How do you perceive that, to be in this specific location?
Yeah, well, I've thought about that a lot, because to me the location for me is Europe, because technology is something that is coming from the United States and coming from Korea, for example, and for me, I think we are contributing to European technology, to European tech.
Is that also something that you can relate to?
And also the logistics, because stuff needs to come in at our place, so it's also important that we are close, near to the way, how is it called, the highway. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's for us also important, that we easy accessible.
Yeah, it's really for traffic. It's amazing, and we also have a train station now at the park. So
for the employees,
that's really awesome. Zooming in on cybersecurity, because that's also part of the education that's provided here. Rick, can you tell something about the human behavior lab that you want to open up here?
As I explained, I'm a psychologist. Yeah. So I think that human behavior is key to becoming more cyber secure for organizations and society as a whole. Of course, technology is of importance, but we see that a lot of techs require interaction with humans to be successful. And with the result, malware installation, frauds, and so forth. So the technical part is of importance, but we also see that human behavior, and especially insecure behavior of people, can lead to all kinds of victimization and problems in organizations. So our focus is especially on this behavior. So we want to be able to measure cyber secure or cyber insecure behavior within organizations, because this helps us to get an image of the problem. So is there a problem with people behaving insecure? And secondly, we want to know what causes this insecure behavior of people, resulting, for instance, in disclosure of information on social media, leaking of information to untrusted parties. And third, we want to develop innovations or measures that organizations can apply to become more cyber secure. And this is why we are currently developing a lab in the Dutch Innovation Factory, together with students, with teachers, with researchers from all kinds of organizations, including, of course, our own Center of Expertise, Cybersecurity, but also want to do this together with organizations in the Dutch Innovation Park. Yeah. So, for instance, with the municipality of Zoetermeer, perhaps with other organizations that are located here in the Dutch Innovation Factory. So I explained that the lab, we're currently developing the lab. We have some students now working on making measuring instruments to measure cybersecurity behavior within organizations, because we see this as a big issue. If you want to know more about the behavior of employees within an organization regarding to cybersecurity, currently we're using questionnaires, for instance, or phishing tests. So we're now trying to get objective measuring instruments to get a good image or security stance of the behavior of employees.
I can imagine that that now in this current situation where people are working from home, even security is a main focus for companies, because data and information is flowing out of the building because people are working at home, and screens are opened and multiple connections to the outside world.
And home is of course so it has a broad definition. So you explained to me that you were here this morning, and of course this can also be your home, working remotely, not from the office. But you're right, we see a lot of interesting new issues coming up. Use of shadow IT, for instance. People working from home need to do some printing. Want to print to the local machine. Cannot use the follow me printer servers that large organizations offer. So to install an application that allows them to print to their own local printer. But these applications are often not very secure. They're hosted by other countries, so could result in malware,
Data
for instance,
breach.
or data breaches. So interesting new issues are arising due to COVID-19. So.
Yeah, and I can imagine that at Teleplan or Reconnect, you get devices from all kinds of people and all kinds of devices. Like I said, I delivered my smartwatch at your place, which has a payment application on it.
What do you think about mobile phones? Nobody can live without his mobile phone, and all kind of data is on a mobile phone. So data security is very important in our business, and we have protocols and accredited wipe instruments to get all the data of the devices. So when a device comes in, the first thing which happens is make it clean from data, and then it goes through the test process. So when and also the transport, how stuff comes to our place, is also most of the time secure transport when it contains data containing devices.
So it's secure door to door.
Door to door with tracking, GPS tracking, even on the logistics.
Yeah. And you as a company, you also design software. How is security part of that?
Well, you cannot develop software in 2020 without at least thinking about security, because you're not building monolithic applications that are on your own device anymore. You're building service-oriented applications that are across the internet. So you have to do security by design. So that is part of our process, if you will, part of our quality assurance. And to us, security means that the software does only what it's supposed to do and nothing more. Yeah. So that is what we're trying to do. Yeah.
And as one of the occupants of the factory, and we're establishing this new lab, my guess is that you will be interested in using it. There are several other labs. Have you made use of those already?
Yeah. The Innovation Lab we are currently in. We've used that because quite often we get a question from customers. We're not quite sure what we want to do. We want to do something with apps, for example. We want to do something with smartphones and give them to our employees, but we're not quite sure yet. And how do we proceed? And we don't have any budget. We have a small budget maybe, but we have to do some more research. And on that moment, I walk into the Hague University and I tell them, well, I have a customer, and this customer is interested in doing something with apps. Can we do that with students, for example? And then the collaboration becomes a thing. So around 2 years ago, when the Innovation Lab was first set up, I did a project with 5 students for the HTM, the Hague public transport company, and we successfully built a few apps with students for them that they could use in order to get some information on how can we actively use apps within our organization. So that was very successful, and right now students from the Hague University are working at Tellick. So yeah.
Nice. And apps like that, are those the future of being tested in a lab like the one we are trying to start up now? So, because even travel information is privacy sensitive, I guess.
Yeah, when we have a look at the lab, the current developments are aimed at building applications or modules, software modules, to be able to measure different kind of behavior within organizations. But of course you have to deal then with the question how to get a good measure without people knowing that you're measuring them. So there comes into play the question about privacy perhaps, or information and how to get information across. And also application. The work we do at the Center of Expertise, we do a lot of research, developing new knowledge, but also trying to give it back to community. And one of the ways we have succeeded in doing that is building an application for organizations, especially the small and medium-sized enterprises, based on their inputs to get a concrete advice on how to become more cyber resilient. And of course, these are projects that we do together with students as well. And I can imagine that in the Dutch Innovation Factory, we can seek each other out and look at these kind of developments and how we can build these kind of applications together somehow.
Yeah, and I know there's a big community surrounding the Dutch Innovation Factory and the Innovation Park. You're part of that community, Dennie. Active, you have an active role in that community. How do you experience the cooperation within the companies and within that community?
Well, for us, it's a plus. It helped us getting to where we are now.
Yeah.
So I think that if Tellick wouldn't be situated within the Dutch Innovation Park, I wouldn't be where I am right now, because it would. The reason being that I'm not particularly commercial. I think in problems, and I want to solve those problems. If you think about privacy, for example, one of the lunch discussions that we have within Tellick is how do you solve the privacy issue on the internet? Because, well, quite frankly, a lot of applications became cloud applications. And that means that your data is always in the cloud. It's always somewhere else. It's not in your own home, for example. So we think about it in terms of how can we decentralize the internet. It's not a research thing yet. It's not a commercial project yet, but it's on our minds, and we think about it on Friday maybe, and then we can't stop thinking about it until it's Monday morning, 9 o'clock, and we have to do some rework again. Yeah. But I think that kind of discussion is only possible if you are in an environment like this. If I would be on my own in an office somewhere anonymous, that wouldn't be possible. Here I walk to the students and I say, well, how do we solve the privacy issue? And then a discussion comes up. So that's one of the things that I work on. For example, when you have self-driving cars, if you ask a student, do you want a self-driving car? They say, well, I would like to have a self-driving car. That would be possible. It would be nice. And if I say, well, what if self-driving cars are a thing, but in the future we prohibit human driving because it's too dangerous? Well, then a student becomes, no, it's so he's involved. He's involved, and I try to do that every now and then sometimes it helps me understand what is the next step.
Yeah, I can see that, and they do that in this environment with, of course, internships and graduation programs, but also with challenges. So a business can apply for a challenge and post a challenge. I think you made use of that option.
Yeah, for the lab we made use of that option. We, as a company, you can get a challenge out to the students. They use innovative development methods for a period of 6 months to make a project, for instance. So as the center, we brought in this idea of building this lab and doing research at human cybersecurity behavior within organizations. So now we have a couple of students working out this idea for us, helping us to make this happen.
Yeah, you really had to pitch that idea to the students,
Several
right?
times, yeah. Several groups of students. We had to pitch the idea of what we wanted and how it's helpful for society, and but it worked. So now we have a bunch of students. They started today, actually. We're going to do.
Is it that they do research, or do they develop the application?
They're actually going to develop the application.
So the research is being done, and then the application can be used by companies.
For instance, actually, as I explained, we need to be able to measure cybersecurity behavior first before doing research, because we want to investigate the effects of interventions. We need to be able to measure these effects in organizations. So they help us building the measuring tools, but also when there's some time left, they will be helping us with developing innovations together with companies in area, for instance, and perhaps even test these innovations within organizations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the pitches I'm looking forward. So pitches are done twice a year because there are 2 semesters in the school year. Pitches starting in September and then working on them for half a year, and then again in February. So we are trying to get a meeting going in October, November to show what the students are working on now and how are they doing, the progress of the projects, but also getting new pitches for February. So that's really interesting. Check our website, DutchInnovationPark.nl. We will post news about those pitches and projects. One of the things that maybe is interesting in the future is also the use of AR in a distance for service employees. My guess is that maybe a company like yours could be interested.
Yeah,
in
we are looking at that, especially when you get in devices, the same kind of devices, that they are being recognized immediately and they are sorted automatically. So we are working on those solutions to do the receiving process in an efficient way and recognizable way. Yeah.
Do you think that's an option for that technology? Is
Yeah.
it there yet?
Yeah, well, if you put on one of those AR glasses that are out there, for example, Google Glass, that's
Way
old
back, yeah.
already. And if you take the HoloLens from Microsoft and you put it on, I have one actually, and you find out 2 things. One of the things, it's not there yet.
Yep.
It needs some more development, I think. And the second thing is, this is the future. This is what we are going to do. Screens are going to become deprecated. Why do you need screens when you have an AR glasses and you can have a movie theater screen, if you will, at your disposal in your own home, in your own office? So I think that AR is quite literally the future of software development and computing. Yeah. So applications like you talked about, I think that is something that is very beneficial to the business process. So it's not something that is, it's not the innovation that is in a corner of the office and people walk by it and they don't think about it. It's integrated into the business process, and I think that is that is something that we are going to do within the next 10 years. Integrate VR and AR and mixed reality really into business processes. Yeah.
I've even Facebook is now experimenting with settings like this and doing meetings in mixed reality or virtual reality, just to become a hybrid solution to the problem that we have now, being not working in the same building. I've noticed for myself that I traveled a lot throughout the country, and now for the past 5-6 months, I've spent a lot time in my car. How is it impacting your business? For example, do you see a difference in your business? Because I think there's less impact.
There's less impact. We had a big impact when the lockdown was there in March, April, May. As all the companies, they needed to get used to it. So KPN closed all his shops,
Yep.
reopened in June. So that's all channels which we work for. So you saw a lot of business impact in those days, but since July everything is quite back to normal. That's how I see it, and I hope we can keep it that way all together and stay healthy. But
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Yeah, I see at the park the factory is still open, so that's a co-location that you can work on or work at. I have to say. Also, the Dutch technology campus, other side of the road, that's also opened up, and you can have a sandwich over there, have a cup of coffee. Are you at the factory each and every day, or working at home, or how are you proceeding in this hybrid era of working?
Well, from the lockdown, we started working from home, but we are all software developers and we all work online. So for us, it wasn't a big change. It's quite literally only not driving to the office, maybe. But contrary to, for example, Reconext, you are working with physical stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a completely different thing, of course.
Does it have an impact on how you work with your customers or interact with project managers? Or
Yeah, well, we've been using Teams, for example, and doing Corona meetings on a safe distance. So that is different, maybe. But we've experienced that our customers became increasingly digital.
Yeah.
They where a year ago I couldn't imagine doing the level of digital communication that we are doing right now. So I think that it helped a lot of customers of ours to become digital.
I think the digital transformation made a huge leap.
For communication, it did.
Yeah, and I also think because we are an international company, we did already a lot of meetings via Teams, but I think for the future the flights will be very low, that we are doing this more frequently and keep on
business
doing this.
flights will
Will decrease.
So what is a best practice maybe that you gained these couple of months? Less flights, more meetings online, but also more focused work.
More efficient. It's more efficient. In the beginning, you had to get used because then the whole day was filled with digital meetings. But the meetings became more efficient than the physical meetings. That's how I see it.
It's a discussion, so I want to give a different light on it. Because what we also found out is that Tellick is a company that is creating stuff. So we are creating, and that means that we need a lot of at the whiteboard discussion. No, it's not this. It's wiping and then doing the new thing, and so and we've experienced that without that in our day-to-day thing. We've lost a bit of symbiosis, maybe.
Yeah.
So we've started some meetings online, not because we have something to discuss, but just come on, let's do something. So I think that there's a difference between, well, you're doing a project and there's a backlog and you're working upon the backlog and iterative development and stuff like that, or we do ideation, we do creation. There's stuff to make up yet. It's not. It's an idea, but it's not a product yet. You have to, and that is very different online. That is not the thing that we are used to when we are at the whiteboard.
So places like this will still be needed in the future, although we are working online and
I cannot
think-
wait for the vaccine.
yeah.
Because I want to collaborate again with people.
Yeah, get everybody back.
Yeah.
So this is why you chose for the Innovation Park and the Innovation Factory
Absolutely.
as I have a question from the chat for Rick. It's very interesting to hear about the Human Behavior Lab. Do you also co-create with companies working on their real-life cases with the students and research? This is a question from staff.
Yeah, that's a good question, and of course we're planning to do that. But first to reflect on your remark, Dennie. The reason that the lab is here in the div is also because we want to do ideation with students together in a physical setting, create IDs, software modules, IDs for innovations and interventions to make cybersecurity more, or cyber behavior more secure. So also missed the opportunity to work here, and we did pitches, of course, for the students, and the students were actually in here in the div, but we were at home pitching from behind the screen. So that was a nice solution workaround, I guess. And the question, and for the lab, of course, we want to develop software modules or ways to measure objectively cybersecurity behavior. And we're also very interested in teaming up together with organizations to do some testing in the field, because we need parties to test the measuring instruments we develop on to see whether they work. And I think that's some kind of a win-win situation, of course. But these collaborations allow us to do testing. But for the organization, we provide them with a clear picture of their security stance regarding the cybersecurity behavior of their employees. And also, we hope to do that's a bit more than just measuring the behavior. We also want to develop means to get insight in what causes these kind of insecurity behaviors of people. For instance, what we see is sometimes knowledge is lacking of employees. They just do not know how to behave more secure. But we also see a lot that opportunity, security by design, is a major issue. Security is not always designed with the human end user in mind. So we see that security often hinders people performing their work. So they go working around it and creating all kind of issues within an organization. And also we see that motivation is sometimes lacking for people to do it the right way, to do it the secure way. So it would be a nice opportunity for us, I think, to team up with organizations that think with us about how to do good measuring, but also to help us develop innovations and test them within our organization. So yeah,
I
good
think
question
it
and
cannot
good
be done
opportunity.
without co-creation.
Exactly.
My guess.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good point.
I've
But
not,
could it be that security is also something that is it's difficult, it's not easy, it's more most of the time it's simpler to do it this way.
Exactly. Yeah.
And just put it on the paper and give it to Steph, and and then the thing goes on. So that kind of behavior, maybe it's the same as keeping your distance in Corona time, for example. It's not fun to do it this
Yeah.
way. It's not fun, but we understand the consequences if we don't. And
But it's education then, huh?
so we still do it. So it's education,
Yeah.
it's awareness.
Not only, I guess, awareness is important. We need to have the knowledge. We need to know how to behave, but that's a good observation you have, because what we see is that when security is a hindrance to people, they go working around it, because they don't always see the needs to behave more secure, and not always security is designed with the end user in mind. So I often joke to people that we don't need more security awareness, but we need more human awareness at development. They need to know how people work, how they think, and how to design in such a manner that security is not perceived as a hindrance, but security is just something that's there that making the work easy.
Yeah.
So we had a discussion about security by design, for instance, and was looking for examples of security by design. And I often, as an example, used the fingerprint sensor of my iPad. I think that's a good example of security by design. Instead of making people remember all kind of passwords and passcodes, we make the solution integrated in the design of the application. And a couple of students told me that fingerprints also not a good security ID, because when your fingerprint is being hacked, you have a problem because you only have 10 fingers. But I think it's a good example of security by design and how to make people, how security integrate part of the design and helping people to do what they need to do in a more efficient way.
Yeah, at Tellick we developed our own single sign-on. We didn't take a product that was available to us because none of the products offered us the security that we wanted, because for us authenticating on the internet is a multi-paradigm, multi-factor thing.
Yeah.
So we all know that when you get the passcode on your phone and you type that in, but why do we need the password in the first place? What can we do better? And maybe there are other paradigms that are more secure or better, or security by design in such a way that the user doesn't need to think about it. It's just part of the.
It just works.
Yeah, it just works. So we created our own single sign-on in order to be able to implement those types of authentication into the product, and not be bound to what the legacy does.
Yeah.
To us, that's legacy.
Yeah, and that's a fun thing, because my guess is I'm in IT for over 20 years now, so things that are legacy to students now, I've made those, I've built those, and that's what I got educated in when I was at school. So I'm part of the legacy, and there's a whole lot of legacy. And now we have digital natives, the generation that's the students here in the Dutch Innovation Factory. Those are digital natives. How can we use their knowledge that they don't even know that they have, because they're used to it? How can we trigger that? How can we use that to us, people that are not really digital natives? Is that using design thinking in brainstorms, or?
Well, for Tellick it means the technology, the enablers.
Yeah.
I'm 38, which on this measure is old.
Yep.
So that means that sometimes one of the students comes up to me and tells me something that I didn't know. It's a new type of technology, it's a new type of, maybe a new protocol on the internet. So I think that the students are much more, those are technology students, to be clear. So I think they are much more aware of what is available to them on the web now.
Yeah.
When I'm just bound to this project that needs to be done. So that's the difference, I think.
Reacting to that question or answer, there's a question in the chat. I'm curious about the student population at the Dutch Innovation Factory. Are they all ICT students, and what are the skills they are working on? Can you elaborate?
I'm not the right person to ask, but I think they're security students.
Yep.
Information security management,
Yep.
and that's not really the technology part of it, but it's the awareness and the behavioral measurement part of it, I think. And there's innovative development, which is software development, but from an innovative standpoint.
Yeah, and there's also game development, minor I guess.
Yeah, there are a few minors, and one of them is gaming, and gaming is one. There's a gaming lab here also. So yeah.
I don't understand. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I got a question that needed some elaboration. Thank you for that answer. I think that becoming, or we talked about the old technology being used, and that we have to innovate as well using that old technology. My guess is that there will be some kind of ICT archaeology studies as well soon. The students, how could they help you out in your business, international business, thriving business? Could we support you with students optimizing your data flow or processes?
I think so. So that we also discussed that. I think when we met, and we do that not enough. I think so. That's something we should do more. Especially we need to change because we need to do it more efficient. And automation is the key word to help us doing that.
Yeah.
And exactly what you said, young people who have other knowledge than we have, we all these. So then it's good that they bring new insights to our company.
Yeah, and we talked about using AI for product discovery and also reusing the products.
Yeah.
Maybe we can also do some testing on the products and automate that as well. There's a huge boom in the AI market. That's really getting big. Is that something that you are looking as well into as Tellick?
Yeah, well, we do a bit of research in it. So so it's not commercial yet, but we are finding out how can we make it so that, for example, AI and machine learning is available to small businesses. So not only to the big ones, because if you take the larger companies in the Netherlands, I think they all are investing in AI and machine learning. But we are thinking about how can we make services and products that make it available to small businesses as well. And there are a lot of small businesses in the park, so yeah.
What would be your advice for Ankie to get started? To get into the water of trying to incorporate AI into your processes.
Well, you're putting me on the spot now. So,
No, but how did you start looking into that technology? Like any other technology, you are working on AR and VR as well. How can you make use of the park and the Dutch Innovation Park and the Dutch Innovation Factory and the community that we have?
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, but I was already triggered by the business challenge, and I think we will look in November. You said you're going to show what has been done the last couple of months, and I definitely think we come with a pitch for February, because that's, I think, the way to involve with the students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really fun. There's also part of the program here is the students' community as well, SIM. They represent themselves. It's a student-run organization. How would we enter that community into their business community? Do you think there's a gap between the students and the businesses?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you perceive that gap?
Yeah, I think there's a gap, and we need to make that smaller by the young people in our company and with all innovation ideas. We have to bring those together with the students, and I think that can be the connection, because I don't think a program manager within my company can make a connection with a student, but it's the innovation guys who are fun of just, they don't need to be young, but they need to have the drive to innovate, and those guys can interact, I think, good with the students.
Yeah, it's an innovation energy, right?
That's the people you really need.
Yeah, and I think that's part of this building and this community as well. How do you perceive that walking around here and meeting students and also businesses alike?
It has been a while, of course.
Yeah.
Been walking here, but walking around here, but. Of course, there's a lot of opportunity to interact with students, and that's of course one of the benefits of being here in the Dutch Innovation Factory, I guess. The way as you explained it before, you can just walk into a lab, ask students some questions where you're working on, or have discussion with them. So they're all always willing to participate in the work we do, the ideas we have. So yeah,
nice. Talking about the gap, we had the gap between students and businesses, but there's also, I think, a gap between working on new innovative software, and cybersecurity is one of those areas. And how to present the options to decision makers. How can you not make them aware of cybersecurity, but make them aware of the problem and the aspect that we're working on?
Interesting question. And this morning I had a discussion with the students working on our challenge, and they presented us the idea of having a dashboard. And I think that's a great idea, of course, because managers like to have dashboards and which they can read off information about the security stance of their organization. So I think that's a good idea. And also we discussed opportunities for benchmarking. It'd also be great, of course, if we can do some measuring within organizations of security, cybersecurity, and behaviors related to cybersecurity. It would be a great idea, I guess, also to do some benchmarking. Let organizations know where they stand, considering certain cyber insecure behaviors of their employees, for instance.
Yeah, and also the options that you can take to make change or focus on, because you can choose from a strategy point which way to go to make it more a tight solution or work on the behavior.
Yeah, awareness is always an important first step. You need to have awareness. You need to know how the security is, what level of resilience you have as an organization before taking any measures.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also when you're taking measures, you need to be able to do measurement. You need to know whether the interventions you do or the programs you offer to your employees or the trainings they get, whether they have effect.
Isn't it also a risk assessment, as in what happens when you don't? So maybe the chance of a fraudulent employee, for example, is low, but the impact is very high. So presenting it like that as risk, as something that you need to mitigate, is I guess the way to go.
And that's something decision makers are used to, right?
Yeah.
They need to see what the risk.
Yeah.
And then they can work on a solution.
Yeah.
It's the same with software quality. I think we all experienced a lack of software quality because software isn't always bug free. But that means that if you ask a company to build software for you, and you ask them what does it cost, if security and quality and usability and stuff like that isn't in the costs, you think that you're getting something, a bunch of software that is working.
Yeah.
But what you're getting is also the risk involved of using that software.
Yeah.
So you need to tell them, well, we can do it without the quality measurements or without thinking about security, without thinking about usability, without thinking about stuff like that.
But
And then
what's
it will be cheap, but you have a enormous risk.
Yeah, and I think a dashboard, like you said, is interesting to keep your measure points and then check and check and check again if you're getting there and if you're making progress or if you're getting near the risk. Dashboards to me are something that I see as a trend the last 2-3 years, because we have more and more data available and we understand our data more and more. I think those dashboards are getting a trend. Do you see that in your company as well?
Yeah, it's an easy way to show, and that's because all the data there is, you need to make it more visible in an easy way, and that's a dashboard is a very good instrument for that.
Yeah, and do you provide those dashboards for your customers as well?
Yeah, and also internally,
Yeah.
the program. Yeah.
Yeah. What are other trends that you see that are now more common in your company? And those questions are for you as well. What are trends now? And not only because we're working at home, so also being in teams and doing digital meetings are really trends. Dashboards are trends to me. I see an upcoming of mixed reality as well. What are more trends that we can see in the future and that we also can offer to our students to stay focused on what we're doing?
Yeah, sustainability is a trend which we see since I think 4 or 5 years, which is really increasing, and security also. It's the government is asking for us, like the AVG, the GDPR, but also security customers are asking for it. Systems need to be secured. So. Those are really things which have been increased awareness last few years.
Yeah, and you as a company, you've been around for a long time doing the mobile phone business and refurbishing and repairing. That's common ground for you, and you made huge steps in those data security and wiping, which to me, I felt safe. I think there should be even more focus on what happens with your data when your device gets
repaired.
Yeah.
There is. We try to do that together with the customers to make people aware. Take your data out yourself, because that's also a possibility.
Yep.
Before you send it in, or you give it to a repair shop. That's my advice. But when you don't, then know that all your data will be off the device when you send it in. And that's always a notice every customer gets when they send in devices.
Yep.
And they want to have it back, because you also have streams where the device comes in and it don't go back to the customer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Irreparable devices. And for you, what's a trend that you see in the coming year that you could focus on?
Well, for the coming year, for Tellick, it's VR, because we're a small company, so we can only focus on one thing at a time. So for us, it's VR. But when it comes to security, I think privacy is one of the issues that we are working on. It's a bit of awareness, but we also see that. I just talked about how I think that we are not only in Zoetermeer and not only in the Netherlands, but we are also in Europe.
Yep.
I think in Europe we think differently about privacy than overseas. So we are much more private people.
Yeah.
So I think that we as technology companies in Europe, we should focus on creating the next
standards.
Internet standards that are private by design, that are secure by design, but not only secure but also private by design.
Yep.
I mean, I'm wiping the data off of my watch and sending in to them, But my data is still on a server at Apple or Google or Facebook. So why isn't it that data is in my home, for example? So I think that that is something that we need to focus on. Maybe not practically as a commercial product, but really thinking about it and as a lunch discussion, and maybe when we collaborate some more with other companies in the park, we need to keep that discussion going and make sure that not only Tellick is thinking about it, but also
the whole innovation park.
And especially also customers make more aware of it, because that's exactly what you said. We in Europe are further in our security awareness and privacy awareness than other regions.
Yep. Okay, a final thought. Why would you recommend the Dutch Innovation Park as a location to visit or even get a place to be seated? Why would you recommend this place?
Well, to me, it means that if you take all these other places, maybe not Rotterdam, maybe not The Hague, but if you take Amsterdam, Paris, Berlin, for example, those are startup places that focus on applications. And I think we need to focus on platforms of the future, and I think that's what we are doing here. Yeah.
Perfect. Would you like to add a final thought to this discussion?
For us, it's more the location, which was always very interesting, but also the closeness of, I think, new brains is interesting, and we need to use that more, I think, as a company.
Yeah. Final thought.
I agree. I think interesting of the Dutch Innovation Factory, the park, is the nearness of companies for us researchers and students and teachers of the Hague University of Applied Sciences. That's a real plus, I guess.
It's a unique location where the students are actually in the same building as some of the companies on the park. Many startups, many scale-ups, and established companies. So there's a real mix of businesses and experiences, and even legacy software and applications.
And it's developing here. So public transport is increasing for the good. It's you can walk to the train here. It's been different 5-10 years ago. This was a
abandoned area.
Dark place. No, it wasn't a dark place, but it was.
No, yeah,
but it's
in development now.
It's a developing place, and we need more people to develop it further, I think.
Yeah. Perfect final words. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here and being part of this discussion. If you want to have more information about the Dutch Innovation Park, please visit our website, DutchInnovationPark.nl. If you want to visit the location, please send us an email, and I'll make some coffee for you or tea, and we will be in touch. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being part of this discussion as well.